Hi, and this afternoon we have a very special guest and a long-standing friend of mine, Tanya Phillips from Pivotal Data Group. And just chatting earlier this afternoon, Tanya's been in the industry since starting out as a call center agent in 1994. And if you do the maths on that, that's 26 years. And during that time, I think in many different roles, Tanya, from operations, quality, what are some of the other roles you've had in that 20 years?
A large part of my career was in training, right? So training, HR, and then operations, and then obviously more recently moved into the space of data analytics and quality. Yeah.
And quality, and now back into operations.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Now, Tanya, just the last 3 weeks or a month, in fact, has had a dramatic impact on our industry as a whole, with vast numbers of agents being relocated into work from home, remote operations, etc. Now, this must have had a dramatic impact on the clients that you're servicing out there. And I'd be really interested to hear what you've learned out of that exercise and what you can share with the industry going forward. So, the high levels, the big issues that you've come across as challenges in the last 3 to 4 weeks.
Sure. So being a data organization, we were obviously very challenged up front to really get our customers to implement different ways to work as quickly as possible. So that obviously included the new work from home type strategies. It also included, in some of the environments, they took what were previous brick and mortar branch strategies and converted their branches into mini contact centers. So took their contact center and split that out. Which obviously, as you know, we've also had some environments where people had to, they had to enable connectivity. They had to enable all sorts, so a myriad of different solutions.
Every challenges in the logistics of getting them out there.
The logistics of just getting people connected, absolutely.
And then the operational model, I mean, it changes it turns it on its head, doesn't it? From high control, high touch, high care in a contact center into this remote environment. And that's the angle I'd really be interested to hear your experience of it, particularly now, this last couple of weeks.
Well, I was reflecting, and if you think, how many conferences have you and I attended in the last couple of years, and high on the agenda was, there's been this play for the fourth industrial revolution, what that means to organizations, what their digital strategy is. And even, way beyond this, way before we coined those phrases, we were talking about agents working from home and getting agents and how we would enable that. And I think, calling a spade a shovel, I think what we've learned is that the technology is not the barrier and has probably never been the barrier. If we have to kind of lift the lid on the situation, I think what has been the barrier is our lack of leadership on the floor, strong leadership, because what I have seen come to the fore is the customers that are really excelling, succeeding, even leapfrogging their digital strategy are those that, have embraced the concepts of trust, empowerment, collaboration, communication, and those are all core fundamental leadership skills, not management skills. So I think where we've been, and it's quite a beautiful case study because we've been talking about it for so long, that says, if you have a look at our team managers, for example, there's always been that tension between task and people. And a lot of our team managers, even our contact center managers, tend to fall into a comfort zone, which is the task stuff, because the task stuff is so easy to do and easy to manage. And the people stuff is sometimes, the difficult things. So we found that things like, coaching and stand-ups or briefing sessions were always deprioritized. Now that people are working from home, now what we're seeing happening is in order to connect, stand-ups are an absolute given. I'll give you an example just in our
expand on some of these, because I think these are the new working models for the industry going forward. So your views on this would be really, really important.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring it a bit closer to home. So if you have a look at our team, so our team, we're a group. So obviously, given the nature of our business, we have a lot of specialists in our team. However, more so than ever, from executive level across the board, we've had to rely on communication to ensure alignment. So things like daily stand-ups, which if you think about it, we all laugh about it now because pre-COVID, we used to battle to find time to have an exco meeting because our exco meetings were pretty long. People were always very busy. There were always a myriad of excuses. We are now having stand-ups twice a day. Our exco has never communicated this much in its entire life. We've never known so much about everybody else's realm of responsibility than we have now, because if you think about it, it's forced us. And maybe because it was the unknown, maybe because there's this fear of control or lack of control. So to implement controls, we've put in place things which actually, if you think about it, strong leadership requires in the form of communication and enabling strong dialogue, an ability to touch base with your team, to guide them, to give them,
So you're molding now a whole new world of a collaborative workforce. Collaborative
Exactly.
from an operational point of view, collaborative from an executive and management point of view.
And I mean, and and that's where the power is, right? Because what you're doing is you're flattening the organization and you're encouraging, we're seeing it happen. We're seeing it within our own organization. We're seeing it in other environments, in our customer environments. You're seeing a lot of those prejudices disappear. So, people say, well, working from home, some people aren't trustworthy, or that maybe adherence isn't working, for example, or whatever the metric is that we're looking at. I think there's a whole new metric. So I think we're going to be challenged to say, stop looking at the input, but define the output really clearly. Because in strong models, if you're achieving the outputs and they're clear, it doesn't really matter how you get there.
So
as long as
you're throwing away the KPI book and rewriting it completely. Yeah.
Rewriting it, rewriting the way we do quality, for example. I think
this
there's
just an interesting point, is that you come from a background in training.
Yes.
What about recruitment? Are we not going to start looking at recruiting a different type of person going forward, and then going into a different type of training?
So, yeah, I think what we would look at is looking at different competencies. So we'd be looking at individuals with stronger competencies. And I think, and it's going to be interesting, and I'll tell you why I'm kind of saying, I didn't want to just say yes or no on the recruitment front, because many successful companies out there have built self-managed teams in a big office, big infrastructure. Everyone comes to work and does things in our old world. Let's call it in our old world. Mm-hmm. But they've managed to build self-managed teams where teams hold themselves accountable, where they negotiate, for example, deliverables, where they all have a sense of accountability to those deliverables. That's just come to the fore now. And again, what it's done is it's shining a spotlight on the leaders in an environment, and the leaders that can do that are going to succeed, or are succeeding right now.
That's almost the topic for another discussion altogether. Building us and creating self-managing teams.
Exactly. But I didn't answer your question on the training, but just to go back to that I definitely think I've been challenging our training model for a long time, many years.
You and I have had discussions on this several times, yeah.
Several times, because my whole thing is, and various studies have been done, and I've also personally experienced it. So there's only so much that people take out of a classroom training in type environment. So we know, and we've done the studies, that, for example, coaching and on-the-job learning is more effective than in the classroom. Yet we still have environments that invest 6-12 weeks in this classroom type environment. And when they put that poor individual on the phone for the first time, the wheels come off, because it's too much to take in at once.
Particularly it jars with the millennium and the new generation coming through, doesn't it?
Right. So we've been having and this is another topic. I mean, how many conferences have we sat in, and people, experts and psychologists have been talking about, they're not that different. I mean, it's the way that, so we always say they weren't born with technology, they were not born into technology, they just kind of came with the technology, right? So everything that a millennial does, if you think about it, they consume information and consume content in a completely different way, and yet we haven't geared our contact centers to do that. Even what you're doing is a form of digital content. It's providing content to people in short bite-sized chunks. It's enabling content to be shared, knowledge to be shared. You could consume it. I always say, why are we not training our people on the way to work and on the way home from work? Because if you think about it, you could be, that's when you could be listening to things that maybe those frequently asked questions or whatever was new today, even your internal training, there's a new product and marketing's doing this, but it's all delivered in a different format, in a digital format.
Moving out of theoretical into practical, over the last 2 weeks, with agents in their droves being relocated home, obviously process changes, policy changes, all sorts of compliance issue changes, they need to be trained. So have you actually implemented or assisted your clients to implement this bite-sized chunk virtual training?
We haven't personally, because we've been focused, I think, more on the broader solutions. But I'll tell you a couple of things that we have been doing. So, for example, we've partnered with a company that does voice of the customer type surveys. They're offering it free to all our customers, free to the market. And what a great way to trial something, right? And in that same environment, they've done it for employee engagement. So what we have done is make that available, where the first question is, what training resources have you made available to your team? How safe and supported do your team feel during this process? So only 3 questions, but how powerful are those questions? Because they're needed right now in the time of COVID crisis, but they should be questions we should be asking ourselves regularly, right? How safe do you make your people feel?
Yeah.
How empowered?
That sets the scene for, we're starting to move towards the wrap up now. Very difficult for any of us to predict the future, which way is it going to go, how long we're going to be in this state. But I would like to think that I call it World 2.0, beyond the COVID environment. I think no doubt our industry is going to change. The model is going to change. The org structure is going to change. The use of technology is going to change. The method of delivering customer service will change. What are your views on that change going forward? You look into the crystal ball. Do you see our agents moving back into bricks and mortar, or some of them back into bricks and mortar? I'd be interested in your hypothesis of the way forward.
Sure, if we only had that ball. I think, Rod, my gut feel is we will have a hybrid. So are we going to go completely virtual, completely digital? No. Yeah. Will there be a hybrid? I believe there will be a hybrid. I believe that in this crisis is great opportunity to relook business models, the way we service our service models, our customer service strategies, and say, if we were thinking about engaging other channels, the thinking should stop. It's now about doing that and engaging that. If we were considering automating some menial tasks, some maybe
chatbots
exactly. It's time. It should have happened already. In fact, now would be the best time to make sure that they're working and that they're providing value. So I do think the model, maybe a lot of what we've been thinking of, dreaming of, and let's be honest, we often get into these rooms and it's the technology types that always lead that way. They tend to be up there, but what's really happened is cloud is a reality, virtual or a different model. So automated quality monitoring, for example. We've been talking data analytics and data and automation and process robotics and all of these things, but it's here. So I think what we're going to see is, I don't believe, if we do have a complete return to the way we were, then I think we've missed out on everything that COVID's trying to do. I really do. Here's an opportunity to say what is all the things you and I always talk about? Why do we run contact centers? Why do we do what we do? Because ultimately you want to increase customer satisfaction. You want to reduce costs, right? You want to do all of those things. Well, look at this. What kind of business models could you be running? What kind of costs could you be reducing? Just how differently can you be servicing your internal stakeholders, your employees, and your customers? So I think it's sending training material via WhatsApp. I mean, that's how I was thinking today. There's such similarities between what the Department of Labor is doing with our kids, that all of a sudden now in COVID don't have a bricks and mortar structure, right? Not everyone has a laptop. Not everyone has access to those kinds of facilities, or we all. But what's happened is the teachers have found a way to get the same content, whether it's through WhatsApp channels, whether it's through, in some instances, in our case, we've got teachers phoning some parents and giving instructions. it's made available via your beautiful things like Google Classroom and all of that. So where there's a will, there is a way. And that's what I think, that's what keeps me hopeful.
This COVID has accelerated it, yeah.
I believe so.
Okay, close now. Do you have a couple of tips, hints, ideas for operators out there looking at the operations and the way to mitigate the challenges of COVID now, because it's going to be with us not just for the lockdown, but for the next 3 to 6 months. So
absolutely, take your, what I call your service profit chain. Just take your delivery chain, your value chain. So we've touched on it all this afternoon. So recruitment, training, quality, all the things that make up operations, and see what you can do to innovate in each of those environments, whether that's leveraging technology, whether it's leveraging different processes, or even different channels as a way to do things differently, which I think could surprise. I think it's already, we've seen some great case studies, but now's the time to say we need to do things differently. 2, leverage technology where you can. It's all out there. It's been out there for years and years, and there's case studies. This is not uncharted territory. I mean, what we're going through is uncharted territory, but enabling technology is not. So there's some great things.
Yeah, so it's matured technologies that just have found their time.
Correct. And then the third one is invest in leadership. Find good leaders, train your leaders, invest in your leaders. If anything, make sure your leaders are staying close, collaborating, communicating, trusting, building trust environments. You can be, and you've seen it, I've seen it, you can be physically in an environment, sitting next to someone, and it's the most toxic culture you've ever been in. So proximity has got nothing to do with trust and other things. So leadership, I think it's critical.
So thank you very much, Tanya, for giving up this afternoon and sharing some time and your insights with the viewers out there. So any last words?
No, thank you. And to everyone out there, keep challenging yourself, look after your people, stay safe.
Thank you, Tanya.